Welcome. This is Mr. Fisher Flips 3rd grade math. Tonight's lesson will be Unit 3 review test. And just a heads up, grades should be coming home Wednesday or Thursday. I'm going to try and send it via email, so I'll be looking for those. The survey, I've just got a few more tweaks to make on it. It was too long of a survey and I wanted to make it shorter so that even the students can take that survey. Makeup is going well, and there's still a lot that needs to be done though. So if you get a grade that you don't like, make sure you come and talk to me and we can make up some of the things you've missed. We're trying to review things this week, and so there's lots and lots of papers that we've been handing back, and hopefully been able to take those home and show them to your parents. Well, today's lesson, don't forget at the very end, where and who were you with? I was on this planet in Mars. Sum up what you saw, but more importantly today, questions. If you have any questions about today's lesson, you have to come and talk to me so that we can be able to help you for the test. Now the test won't be given until later, but we want to make sure that you understand all the concepts and skills that are required of this chapter. Speaking of the test, this is the test of the first page, and if you print it off, it'll be this size, but if you wait until the kids come home, you should they should have it with them so that they can do that with their homework, and it will be big pages. So tonight I wanted to concentrate on making sure you understood most of these 4 pages. I was going to go through it and just give you some hints and point out some things that you might want to watch out for as you go through this for your homework. Remember, it's homework that you should bring to class ready to be able to answer any questions that you might have. Let's look at the first questions. First questions go over vocabulary. And there were lots of things that we went over. Elapsed time. What was elapsed time? That was going from A to B, but on a time scale, right? Liquid volume, what was that? Anything we could store in a container. Mass. Mass was weight. And bar graphs and line plots. Those were the things that we talked about a lot in the last week. So I won't go over that, but see if you can figure out these 3 questions. Now these concepts and skills, I want you to make sure that you understand that this first one is looking at the clock and look at the hour hand. If it's halfway between the 3 and the 4, you have to decide what time that is. So here's the 3 on a time clock, 4, 5, 6. The hour hand is halfway between the 3 and the 4. What time is it? Now remember, on kilograms, kilograms is big, kilograms, and grams is small. So something with kilograms would be something big. Now down here at the bottom, I was going to do this with you because we can take our ruler, realize that this tape measure, this ruler, it's going to be a different scale because I'm using the smartboard. And as I use the smartboard, you're going to see that my scale of what that pencil should be is going to be different than maybe your scale. So I'm going to go with this scale, but let's estimate about how much that's going to be. So I estimate, and I'm going to take, I would guess that it's about 5 inches long. And just to make sure it's about on the quarters, I'm going to say 5 3/4 inches long. So that's my guess. What's an estimate? A good guess. So let's check with our ruler. Let's see how big this pen is, this marker. Ooh, how close was I? If we use that as our guide, I was off let's see, it starts right here and it ends right about there. So it was actually 5 1/2 inches long. Oops, my ruler wants to take over. 5 1/2 inches long. On problems 9, 10, 11, I think you can figure this part out, because is that gallons or cups, millimeters or liters, kilograms or grams? Remember, with milliliters, ml, or L. Got to decide which one's which. Well, just to remind you, now milliliters, kilograms, liters, grams, that's the metric system. In the standard system, remember the G stands for what? Gallons. The Q stands for, see those Q's? Quarts. The big P's stand for pints, and the C stand for cups. So how many cups are in 1 gallon? I realize these are out of order because it jumps clear to 18 and 19, but I wanted to stay with the same concepts. These are lessons 3, 4, 3, 5, 3, 3, 3, 3, 5. So these were the ones that went along with gallons, meters, liters, but it's problem solving. So I wanted to go over these just so you were aware of how those would work. Well, if we stay with this, Ariel picked up some peaches. A peach has a mass of about 150 grams. Remember, as you do this, I would find 150 grams, and then you can jump forward depending on how many grams you need. To make a batch of a juice drink, how many milliliters does she need to make 5 batches? On this, I'd like you to see that there's several things you can remind yourself what time is doing it, but right here you're just going to find out what the time is. And so if you're actually doing this, you'd find out what the hour hand is saying, and then you're going to count to the minute hand. And remember, we count to the big numbers by fives, 5, 10, and then we can count 1 digit, 2 digits, 3 digits to get the time. So that would be 5, 10, etc. Now another concept that you should remember is anything between the 12 and the 6 is after the hour, and anything between the 6 and the 12 is before the hour. So two concepts that you can use especially on future time problems. Well, moving on, let's see if you can do this quiz. And what is another way to say 5:15? And the second question will be, what is another way to say 8:45? Just a quick quiz to see if you remember how to do those problems. Well, when we do elapsed time, remember that you start with this time. So 6:30. You're going to find 6:30 on this timeline, and it goes from 6:30 to 9:30. It's not just doing one, it's also doing another. So you've got those equations. Make sure as you go past the hour you start with a new time. A couple things to be worried about, and you can figure out this one. Use the timeline if you need to. It's there for you to use. These questions. These are the pictographs, and so if we use this chart, the t-shirt cells, we can use this t-shirt, and we have to figure out how many t-shirts were small, medium, and large. And we have to use the key, so we have to say that these represent how many t-shirts. And we put them along here, and if we were counting by twos, 2, 4, 6. Would we count by twos though? We'd probably use a different form, right? Fives, tens, that would probably be better, huh? But question 13 you'll probably have a question on. Use the data in the table to complete the bar graph. Well, the bar graph is where you start to take and you say, here's the small ones, and we only had 40, 20, 40. Whereas the mediums had how many? And you'd have to figure that part out. And the larges would have 50. That's where you'd put the small, medium, and large. And then what would go on this bottom part? The number sold. And then across here would be the numbers. What goes up here in this line? Yes, the title. So remember that as you do this problem. These problems you should be able to figure out. If you figure out where that is, then you can figure out how many altogether. You can count this plus this plus this. And remember, you're looking down at the numbers that represent those bar graphs. Questions 20. Now, this one I wanted to go over because a lot of people were having trouble with this in the lesson yesterday. So, a frequency table is this. But, when you went to do your survey, you did that's right, a tally chart. So the tally chart was where you went and you collected data. And so if you look at this data, there was only one person that had 4 feet. And there were 4.5, right here, 4.5. There were 3 people. So as you were doing your survey, you went 1, 2, 3. And then you take that data and you bring it down over here to the frequency table. And then here's the next step. You bring it over here and you say, well, there was only one person. There's one person that had a 4-inch measurement. There were 3 people that had 4.5. 1, 2, 3. Do you see how that works? So you go from tally, frequency table, to line plot. And you go kind of in that order because you gather the information, you organize it, and then this is like presenting it. The line plot is like the presentation mode. So that should help you. And here's some help maybe for you. The table of measures. Figured you might as well know time also. How many minutes in an hour? 60. And we've also done this at one time. We figured out that the leap years go in what years? We'll leave that as a bonus question. And then we'll review for the test so that you'll be ready to take the test on Monday. So this is all that I have. Remember to do your WSQ. Have a great night. Remember to do your where, sum, and questions, especially questions tonight. Good night.